Final.
Cup championship bound, baby! Woo! Big up, baby! Woo! The year, man. It got a little crazy out there, but we made it through.
We're gonna keep stacking the day, so see you in the championship.
Bow, bow, bow! Let's go!
June 17th wasn't just another game, it was payback. The Indiana Fever hadn't forgotten May 30th, when Jacy Sheldon and the Connecticut Sun left Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson injured with dirty plays that went unpunished. So when Sheldon poked Caitlin Clark in the eye during the rematch, something snapped. What followed showed exactly why you don't mess with Clark's teammates. Sophie Cunningham stepped up and delivered one of the most satisfying flagrant fouls you'll ever see. If you're riding with the Fever, drop a CC and Spicy Sophie in the comments. Let's go.
It was chippy the last time these two teams faced off too. Sophie Cunningham suffered her ankle injury in that game, but in addition to that, she actually had part of her front tooth knocked out. She made contact with Jacy Sheldon as Caitlin Clark knocks down the triple.
But what people don't talk about enough is how hard you have to work to be able to be that good. All the hours that she's spent perfecting her craft.
Retreating, firing, and hitting!
So she can do that!
On Indiana arguing the call.
I mean, step back, you're late. She almost looks you in the eye.
Picture this, May 30th, Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun, and everything went wrong for the Fever in the worst possible way. The game started off like any other, just two WNBA teams battling for position. But the Sun brought a level of physicality that quickly crossed the line from competitive to downright dangerous. From the opening tip, you could feel the tension in the air. Something wasn't right.
Can we talk about the physicality for a second? Two players on the Indiana Fever got injured last night by the same player on the Connecticut Sun, and that was Jacy Sheldon. And I tweeted about it. She was playing so reckless. I'm fine with players playing aggressive, but there is a thin line between playing aggressive and playing reckless. When you dive for a ball, you don't land on somebody's leg. She landed on top of Sydney Colson's leg, and her leg got stuck and literally twisted around. Both injuries, both Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham, were contact injuries.
Sophie Cunningham went down first after what looked like a deliberate hit hard contact that was way too much for a routine basketball play. Then Sydney Colson got hurt in another questionable moment that had everyone wondering what was really going on out there. The worst part, Jacy Sheldon was at the center of both incidents, playing with the kind of reckless aggression that makes your blood boil.
They weren't non-contact. They weren't ACLs. They weren't Achilles. They were contact injuries caused by the same player. And this kind of physicality that the WNBA they brag about. They say it's always been a physical league. That's just the heart of the It's not good basketball. And we've seen so many injuries. Paige Becker's out with a concussion. Rakia Jackson was out with a concussion. All of these injuries are contact plays. We've seen Caitlin Clark last year get chucked to the ground. We saw Angel Reese get clothesline chucked to the ground. The players continue to do it because the refs are allowing them. Why wouldn't you keep doing it if you're a physical player?
Here's where the college history adds fuel to the fire. Jacy Sheldon and Caitlin Clark had been clashing long before they ever set foot on a WNBA court. Their rivalry dates back to their Big Ten battle, Sheldon at Ohio State, Clark at Iowa, where every matchup was intense, physical, and deeply personal. Sheldon seemed to make it her mission to get under Clark's skin, game after game. She wasn't just defending her, she was shadowing her every move, bumping her on screens, and constantly chirping during dead balls. It was never just about the scoreboard with Sheldon, it was about rattling Clark, throwing her off her rhythm, and making every possession a war. By the time they met again in the WNBA, none of that college history had been forgotten. In fact, it had only intensified. The hard fouls, the trash talk, the tension, it was all a continuation of years of rivalry and resentment. To Sheldon, Clark wasn't just another star player, she was the one to beat, the one to break. But what she didn't count on was that Clark wasn't alone anymore. In Indiana, she had teammates who weren't going to let that kind of history repeat itself without a fight.
Her mortal enemy took out a player. Jacy Sheldon. Caitlin Clark's mortal enemy, Jacy Sheldon.
On May 30th, it felt like the referees were watching a completely different game than everyone else. The Connecticut Sun played with a level of aggression that crossed the line, but the officials let it all slide. Hard fouls went uncalled. Dangerous plays were ignored. It didn't matter how blatant the contact was, there were no whistles, no warnings, nothing. Caitlin Clark had to stand by and watch as her teammates were taken out one by one, while Jacy Sheldon, the player at the center of it all, walked away untouched by consequences. The Indiana Fever kept fighting, refusing to back down despite the chaos. They clawed their way through every quarter and still only lost by a heartbreaking score of 85-83. But the real loss wasn't on the scoreboard, it was in the bodies on the floor. Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson were both injured in plays that could have and should have been stopped if the game had been properly officiated. Their absence was a huge blow to the team in the following games, both emotionally and physically. That night wasn't just a loss, it was a turning point. And the Fever didn't forget. Not the pain, not the hits, and definitely not the silence from the refs.
This is reckless. It is dangerous. And this angle makes it look even worse. It is dangerous. Like, Sid Colson is between her and the ball. Sid Colson is in fact between Jacy Sheldon and the ball, and she dives through her knee. It wasn't even called as a foul. It wasn't even called as a foul.
You could see it in Caitlin Clark's eyes after that May 30th loss, the glare she gave Jacy Sheldon in the handshake line, the quiet intensity in her post-game interview. This wasn't over, not even close. The Fever remembered everything. The injuries, the dirty plays, and the officials who let it all slide. June 17th couldn't come fast enough. When it finally arrived, Clark was back, returning from a quad injury and fresh off a dominant win over the then undefeated New York Liberty. This was only her second game back after 3 weeks off, but you could tell she hadn't forgotten a thing. From the way she walked onto the court to the way she stared down the Connecticut Sun players during warm-ups, it was clear this wasn't just another game. This was personal. A statement. A chance to show the Sun and Sheldon that the Fever don't back down, and they don't forget. If you're riding with the Fever, drop a CC and Spicy Sophie in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a moment. Click the video on screen for more, and we'll see you in the next one.